Welcome to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com, a very unique show that gives you a refreshingly long visit with all kinds of people, entrepreneurs, athletes, small business owners, politicians, and others, all of whom openly talk about the ups and downs of their lives. Kerry's natural curiosity and her own entrepreneurial spirit makes her the perfect host for this program. Connect with Kerry through her candid, funny, informative, and always encouraging weekly blog. And now it's time for Kerry McCoy to get all up in your business.
Why, thank you, Tom. I liked your new introduction. I got to tell all our listeners, because they're probably, if they've listened before, they're wondering, where's Son Gray? Because he's usually on the radio with me. And he, for everybody, is in Europe. He's a professional opera singer, and he's traveling with the church, and he's singing. So Tom has also been with the show, to all you listeners, for a long time. He's the editor, and he's actually a celebrity in Little Rock, Arkansas, right up there with Bob Robbins, Tommy, what's Tommy's last name? Tommy Smith, yeah, Craig O'Neill.
This is pretty heady company, Kerry. I don't know if I can keep up.
You can. You absolutely. So he's been editing the show behind the scenes for years, and if you go to our website, you can see a picture of him. But Tom, tell our listeners where they have heard that voice before, because I know they're wondering, I know that voice. Where have I heard that before?
In 1980, we put Magic 105 radio on the air, and that radio station ran for 30 years. I'm telling you, that's longer than most radio stations get to. But then I bounced around here and there with the iHeart radio community in Little Rock. And just in the past couple of years, we started a brand new network, moved away from the corporate side of broadcasting, and we started our own little thing. And it's called the Arkansas Rocks Radio Network. And we've got 15 stations around the state. And I'm on the air every afternoon, 3 to 7.
Entrepreneurship right here in Little Rock in the radio business. Not many people are taking that leap anymore.
No. A lot of people say radio doesn't have a very bright future, but I disagree.
I agree with you and not them.
Hey, I thought this was about me.
Oh, we're getting to you, Mitch.
It will be.
All right, it's time to start the show for real. Thank you, Tom. After 4 decades of running a small business called Arkansas Flag and Banner, now simply flagandbanner.com, my team and I, Tom and my son Gray, decided to create a platform for not just me, but other business owners and successful people to pay forward our experiential knowledge in a conversational way. Originally, we thought we'd be teaching others, but it didn't take long before we realized that we were the persons learning. Listening to our guests has been both educational and inspiring. To quote the Dalai Lama, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. The act of listening is learning. As Greek philosopher Diogenes once wrote, we have 2 ears and 1 tongue so that we can listen more. After listening to over 300 successful people share their stories, I've noticed some reoccurring traits. Most of my guests believe in a higher power. They have faith, have the heart of a teacher, and are creative because business is creative. And they all work hard. Before I introduce today's guest, who you heard a little bit about just a minute ago, I want to let you know if you miss any part of today's show, want to hear it again or share it, there's a way. And Tom, our editor and Magic 105 legacy, will tell you how.
There are hundreds and hundreds of Up in Your Business programs available at the Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy YouTube channel, Facebook page. You can go to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette's digital version, flagandbanner.com's website, or wherever you listen to podcasts. All you have to do is ask your smart speaker to play Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy. And by subscribing to our YouTube channel or flagandbanner.com's email list, we'll let you know who each week's guest is so you have time to make plans to listen. Back to you, Kerry.
Thanks again, Tom. My guest today is an intelligent, long-time acquaintance and jack of all trades, Mr. Billy Mitch Chandler, who has dropped the Billy to simply be called Mitch. Like his doctor father, Mitch is smart. But unlike his father, Mitch has been unable to settle on one career. In school, he studied many areas of interest. In work, the same. In chronological order, his beginning career and longest was as program director and producer for local and regional TV news stations. Next, director of business and public relations for Arkansas Economic Development Center, AEDC. Before becoming the director of sales for Arkansas Scholarship Lottery, he tried his hand as an entrepreneur by being a founding partner of Martin-Wilbourn Ad Agency. And his last full-time job was as Arkansas's Director of Executive Communication for the Secretary of Commerce. As is often the case, he left when administration changed. Today, Mitch is writing full-time on his book, Bus Stop to Paris, an autobiography about this Hickory Nut from the South, as he calls himself, and his happenstance meeting in the Denver airport that would forever change his life and send him traveling the world. As one to never rest on his laurels, Billy Mitch still keeps his finger on the pulse of advertising and film by working with a few select clients, most notably the FBI Agents Association, who he has partnered with for over a decade. So what do all these careers have in common? Public relations, personality, and media. It is with great pleasure I welcome to the table the lucky, well-traveled, soon-to-be book author, ad man, and funny guy, Mr. Billy Mitch Chandler Jr.
Thank you.
You're named after your dad.
Yeah, named after him. I'm a junior.
You're not a Robert? You're a Billy.
I'm a junior. When my dad was born, my grandmother was, 1935, after a long labor, the doctor walked up and asked her, what are you going to call your son? And she said, we're going to call him Billy. So he wrote down Billy.
No,
supposed
Robert.
to be William.
Oh, William. Oh, so
but he
Billy's
wrote down
short
Billy.
for William.
Yeah,
That's right.
Later in the mail, they got the birth certificate and it said Billy M. Chandler. So they continued the mistake on through another generation and named me Billy M. Chandler Jr. Father Tribute didn't like it at all. Said, I'm not going to use it. I said, well, I'll do my best. But so, yeah, I'm Mitch. And
So
two
now
Hall
you're-
of Famers. Thank you all for having me today.
Oh, there you go. Oh, thank you. I loved your author's description, how you called yourself a hickory nut from the South. Can I plagiarize that? I'm
Sure.
using that sometime. Some say to be funny, you must be smart. Do you
Well,
think?
I don't know about that.
What's your IQ? Come on.
Audacious. I don't know. It's I don't think it's been tested in the time, but I'm sure I've killed the brain cells that put me above average. So no, I'm just enjoying myself being unsupervised now. So
Unsupervised.
yeah, I don't have to go to work every day. So I'm
You
can
still
do what I want. And on mornings like today when it's thundered and I just rolled over and giggled.
in the biography part of your book, you are writing a section about the author, and you say, and you write about yourself. Will you read part of it for our listeners? Because I think it says a lot about you, and frankly, it's a good descriptor for a lot of Southern baby boomers.
Oh, really? Okay.
I loved reading
Did I
it.
write this?
You did.
Well, I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, raised in North Little Rock, schooled well, made the world laugh, talked too much, loved too little, ate too much, and learned to consume everything around me at a professional level. I used level twice, didn't I? You're right.
You're going to edit your
Unedited.
You want a pen to edit?
Yeah, I think I do. You're right. Issues emerge, but none criminal except for that one time, and I will occasionally agree to misdemeanors, but vigorously avoid felonies. That continues. I like and want to help people, but often get screwed with the general strategy. I believe there's evil and good in people, and we need to stop the nasty badness that hurts so many children in the world. I tend to be selfish, but take pleasure in sharing what I have. Dad was an eye surgeon. Mom was all the above. Alternately the best, the fairest, the most generous matriarch, but also able to whip your ass with the thin trouser belts of the 1960s. Teachers thought I was half zebra at Anthony School and pretty much knew from my behavior in class I likely deserved it. Mother cussed at us. A good ass whipping can clear the mind and share boundaries. Shock collars had not been invented yet, but straitjackets were mentioned. Mother had 9 kids in her country family, so aunts and uncles and cousins were plenty. Arkansas is a beautiful state full of lakes, rivers, and mountains. We did all of it. We weren't rich, but we had more than most. The hangover from the Depression was always close by. In the words and actions of the entire family, which was large, I knew from where we came. One side dirt farms, the other side poor inner city Little Rock. For most of the 20th century and before, Arkansas has been a poor state with poor education. We weren't Catholic, but we did feel guilty about some things. And as Methodists, we believed a good green bean casserole is all you need to get to heaven.
Amen.
Amen. That's good. So, my listeners, when the book is ready, you're going to enjoy it. It's a good read. You're clever.
Thank you.
I really related to this sentence. I tend to selfishness, but take pleasure sharing what I have.
Yeah.
I think that whole descriptor, too, describes a lot of baby boomers in Arkansas. We all felt the depression that our parents felt, you know.
Well, we were raised, I was born 17 years after World War II, so when you grew up in my case, television, I'm sure Tom with radio, you walked in to be a part of a system, not to change it. And when they said go stand in the corner and wait for orders, you stood in the corner. And your ability to lead was important, but your ability to follow was more important. So that's what you learned in these things, whether you're TV, radio, cop, first responder. It was good for us because we could make mistakes and nobody got hurt usually. So, I mean, we got to have the action of it and the adrenaline of it without, I used to say coming out of the booth sometimes, it's good that we don't fly airplanes because we'd be littered all over the runway. So.
What do you mean?
Well, we just take a show down, just a news show. No tapes roll right. Anchors are upset. People are throwing things. You don't see it on the air necessarily, but behind the scenes, people are kicking trash cans.
So I have to tell the listeners before we came on, I think that I introduced Mitch and Tom to each other, my two people on the show with me today, and I think they're going to be lifelong friends. They talk media together. As you can see, they're not even acting like we're here. They're talking to each other like I'm not even the hostess. So your family liked to travel.
Yep.
This was a kind of a precursor for your adult life, don't you think?
Well, they took us places. And
Tell our listeners about the Cabo cruise trip.
Well, we went on the Fair Sea. It was a 25,000 ton ship, which is not big by any standard now. I think it plies the waters of Hong Kong or something. I looked it up the other day. And we went down to Mexico in December of 1982 and went through a 125 mile an hour unnamed hurricane. You can still look it up. Just search unnamed hurricane, December 82.
It's called the unnamed hurricane?
Yeah, it was a bad one. Our Italian captain thought maybe we were in trouble, but Cabo got smashed. It was before it was huge, and everybody from Little Rock started going down there and buying stuff. And but it was smashed. I mean, there was wood floating everywhere, and we couldn't stop. So
in the book, you said that the captain told you that you couldn't go ashore because you had to go out and look for rescue.
They said look for people. I mean, we had fishermen out there, and it was terrible. I mean, so I guess that's where the urban renewal came from in Cabo in the 80s, because it just smashed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Was there a reason you went to the University of Colorado at Boulder and not closer to home?
Well, there were a bunch of buddies going, and I thought it was cool, and I liked to ski. So me and about 4 or 5 other guys who shall remain nameless because their stories ended about like mine did.
Yeah, yours didn't end good. Here's an excerpt from your book. My father said he thought I might have had higher blood alcohol level overall for why you were...
Well, I had a 0.00 grade point average for a year. So
you didn't stay long.
Well, ironically, my parents and the university regents invited me to go home on the same day. I got a call from both of them and said, it's pretty much it. So get a U-Haul.
And you followed the Arkansas River all the way home.
Followed the Arkansas River home. That's right.
So now you're going to write a book. And when we come back, I want to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about your book. We'll continue our conversation with Billy Mitch Chandler Jr., world traveler, media aficionado, and author. Still to come, bus stop to Paris book discussion with some of Mitch's fun stories. As you've already heard, he's got them. More of his varied work travels. We will get Arkansas lottery winning tips because he worked for the Arkansas Lottery. And last, his longtime media work and relationship with the FBI. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. Over 40 years ago, with only $400, Kerry founded Arkansas Flag and Banner. And during the last 4 decades, the business has grown and changed along with Kerry's experience and leadership knowledge. In 1995, she embraced the internet, rebranded the company as simply flagandbanner.com. In 2004, she became an early blogger, and since then has founded the nonprofit Friends of Dreamland Ballroom, began publishing her magazine Brave, which, by the way, features a cover story about this radio show and podcast in the current issue. In 2020, Kerry McCoy Enterprises acquired OurCornerMarket.com, which is an online company specializing in American-made plaques, signage, and memorials for over 20 years, and more recently opened a satellite office in Miami, Florida. Telling American-made stories, selling American-made flags, theflagandbanner.com. Back to you, Kerry.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy, and I'm speaking today with the smart jack of all trades, I almost said jack of something else, Mr. Billy Mitch Chandler.
Well, I wouldn't say jack of all trades. I mean, I'm a show breed, not a working breed. So I'm a yard work, stuff like that.
You don't
physical exertion. No, I really prefer the Churchillian aspect of trying to conserve your energy as much as possible.
What's Churchillian mean?
Well, after Winston Churchill, he always believed
Churchillian.
that don't do anything standing up that you could do laying in bed. Don't do anything.
A lot of baths, a lot of cigars.
A lot of baths, cigars.
Yep.
And I do that
Churchill.
even if nobody's in my apartment. I'll say, I'm coming out in the state of nature. Just for anyone who's might happenstance by.
I'm coming out in a state
Of
of
nature.
Nature. Okay. I couldn't decide which conversation should come first, but I did decide. Talking about your autobiography and how a chance visit at the bus stop in Colorado helped shape your life, or the very jobs that you've had. But I picked the bus stop to Paris. So here is, I know I'm quoting a lot from your book, and you didn't even send me but like 6 pages, but there's just a lot in those 6 pages.
That's it. It's a 6-page book, and it's a thin one. Audiobook is only $1. So
So you said the first question in a lifetime of questions about how fate and the randomness of life can spin you off into unknown places. And you said that first question was,
what time is it?
what time is it? Tell us about that.
So I'm at the Denver airport and going back for my second semester. And ironically, I was on the plane with Bill Clinton's mother, Virginia Kelly, when she'd married Mr. Kelly. What was his first name? Dick Kelly.
Dick Kelly, yeah.
And she was sitting right in front of me. It was a Frontier flight. Used to be a direct flight to Denver from Little Rock. And she had rice in her hair, which I thought, well, I got to look at that for about 1,000 miles. Anyway, so that was just, oh, by the way, she was on the plane. And so I got there, and this young girl was eating an apple, and she came up at the bus stop and said, well, what time is it? And I told her, and then she was about to get on the wrong bus, and I told her, no, this is the bus you need to be on. I helped her with her bags, and we made friends. And I said, hey, look, I'm coming back for my second semester. Doesn't look good, but I'm going to try to stick the landing on this one. And but I need more friends. And so anyway, we actually ran into each other 2 weeks later when one of her roommates, and they lived in this big house with, 10 students, one of those proverbial big houses.
Animal house.
Animal house. And so I went over there and had dinner. Well, 2 Frenchmen came up and said hello, and they were my original 2
Frenchmen?
Frenchmen, Bertrand Cotte and Henri Soudy.
Say that again.
Bertrand and Henri.
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 That's Henry, isn't it?
Henry. And they came up and made fast friends. And so I stayed the rest of the semester and did all the things I did and didn't do. And then came home and then decided to go visit. And so in 1984, I went over for 5 weeks with my cousin. And we stayed 2 weeks in Paris, and that was it. I went back every year for a long time, probably 20 trips.
To see Henri?
Well, all of them. I got to meet more and more every time I'd go. And, I wasn't making a lot of money in television. So as long as I went the day after Christmas every year because it was the cheapest. And,
Boxing Day.
I guess so in England. But yeah, so I'd go over and stay for a week or two. And they would take care of me. And I would buy a big dinner or have a party. So that was the way we did it. And they took me everywhere. And they were.
So why did that change your life other than just going to Paris?
Because you just meet everyone and you realize there's different ways of doing things. And the French are, can be obnoxious and fun at the same time. So I particularly like that. Then I started studying language and got to just meeting a bunch of people. No, I'm not fluent, but I've got about 500 or 600 words. None of the verbs are conjugated, but I can get around. I can eat. I can order well at a restaurant.
Read the signs.
Very effectively, yeah.
Read the signs.
And I can, there's social graces that you have to kind of know, or they will be rude to you. So, yeah, it's just been a great love affair with a city that I treated like Disneyland, really. Nope, back then, not a lot of people went.
No.
It was
expensive
unique.
to fly.
Well, but people just didn't do it. I mean, there was in the 80s, and then they started. Now people pop over for 3 days and they use their frequent flyer points, and it's nothing to, hey, I'm going to Paris. I'll be back in a couple of days. Mm-hmm. But back then it was a huge thing. So I think that sort of made up my psyche especially the news business. Here I was making $6 an hour, but I was flying off to Paris every year.
So you came back from college.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do first?
Well, I worked for my dad's as an optician for my dad, and then I got into. had a police radio in my car, and I was a still photographer. And that's really what I originally wanted to be. And then I was in a class at UALR with Mel Hanks, was the investigative reporter. Mel Hanks on the case, straight from the heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I made friends with him. And so he asked me if I wanted to intern, so I went to Channel 4 and interned. But without doing any of the paperwork, I just walked in and said, okay, I'll be an intern, which means I'll work for free. So I never left. And so Bob Steele called me in, the news director, Bob.
From
Everybody
which
does.
channel?
Channel 4, Channel 7. He's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
He,
And how'd you know him?
well, I met him there
Oh.
when I became an intern.
Oh, okay.
But I just tried to look busy. I'd walk around with clipboards and tapes in my hands, and I'd pick up everybody's dirt work that they didn't want to do, and then I'd get coffee. So I would look across the newsroom as it got busy every day, and I'd say, okay, I'll be right with you. Just a second. And I wouldn't be talking to anybody, but people would think I was on top of it. I'd run around and act just audacious, acting like you're supposed to be there. And then one day Bob said, why are you still here? It's been like, 8 months, or how long you been working? I said, it's okay. You don't have to pay me. I'll keep doing it. And he said, no, there's an overnight editor's job, lowest position in the newsroom. He said, apply for it. Okay. So I got it. And, about every year I got promoted, and, and then it went.
You know, the guy that is the head of the rice industry in the world is from Stuttgart, Arkansas,
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
and that he started as the janitor.
That's right. Well, Doug McMillan, head of Walmart, started in the egg case, cleaning out the egg case at Sam's.
How do you instill that sort of work ethic
I don't think
into
instill
people?
it. I don't think you steal it. But I tell you what it does do, and Tom will agree, it forges it. And so, you look for people that have worked in TV, not too long, because you can stay too long at that party. But people that have worked in it for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, they have a sense of urgency, because as the day goes on, then the urgency goes to get it on the air.
Right.
And it's a zero fail mission. And so people that have worked in media, TV, radio, they tend to get things done quickly. And creative people tend to take the easiest, quickest, fastest path.
Yeah.
Not always the smartest, but the quickest.
I think it's the smartest alive.
Well, it can be. Most of the time it is.
So you say the book's about the hundreds of people that I met on the bus from meeting that woman at the bus stop. So here are some of the people from the survivor of the killing fields of Cambodia.
Yeah, Amrain Ak, she's a wonderful woman. I met her 40 years ago. We had long weekends in the country at one of the estates that one of them had. And, where you just go up for 3 or 4 days, and we would go from lunch to rest to dinner to rest to morning to lunch to rest to dinner to rest. There's 10 people in the house, and it's just magnetic, and people from everywhere in the world. And she had gotten out, her parents didn't, but out of Cambodia with the Khmer Rouge, took the family. And so she had a great career at Van Cleef and Arpels and Cartier. And she's married now, and she's retired, and like we are starting to be. And it's just been a great 40-year friendship.
What house did you say you were all in?
Is it 10th and College? And which one? Boulder?
No, with her.
Well, Henry's dad was a consul general of the Ardennes, which is up on the Belgian border. He was a politician, and he had been in a concentration camp. He got busted on his first resistance mission. In January of 45, his job was to take a bicycle with a radio in it and a list of names to a hotel in Nantes. And he was an ophthalmology student, another harmonizing thing. Both our dads were ophthalmologists. And he, I guess, did his job poorly, so the Gestapo busted him. And they sent him to a work camp that was in Germany, but it was notorious, and it was at the end of the war. And he, just in 4 months, he went down to about 75 pounds. They just work him to death. And so he got out. And I found some interesting documents on him. For some reason, the Allied Expeditionary Force headquarters, which was Eisenhower, was looking for him, and the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Reims, which is Champagne, and just below where he ended up being the consul general. Anyway, they're looking for these two men, And I can't figure out why, but that's one of the things I'm working on. And I haven't showed Henry yet. I'm going to show him on camera this document and see how he reacts. So anyway, we're shooting a documentary at the same time we're writing the book. So we're going in October to shoot and re-interview everybody. So the whole time I was there over the years, I shot a VHS camera. And
so you've got all this old film on VHS.
Oh, I know, and black and white stuff.
Oh, how
And I just
fun.
found, and I'm not organized, as I told you the other
Boy,
day.
you are not, y'all. I
Not
just want to tell
organized.
y'all, it
But
took
I
me
found-
forever to get to work with him.
I found 60 like rolls of black and white bulk rolled film that I'd shot in Europe in the 80s and 90s. There's no telling what's on there. I was never a technical photographer.
You just like to collect the stuff.
No, I just get a motor drive and go,
Just let her rip.
and then see what's on there, Then load another one.
Your comfort level with talking about these European places, and you could see that you visited Paris all those years in a row.
Well, yeah.
Your comfort level is just so high.
Well, we used to, when my friends would come, and occasionally we'd rent a car, and don't try this at home. I guess because we don't have an Arc Triomphe here, but we got something we can run around there. Over there by the War Memorial, there's a roundabout. I don't think you get the same effect, but we used to go to the pub and have fun, and then get in the car and run around that Arc Triomphe real fast because there's no rules, and you have to believe you're less afraid of dying than they are of killing you. And so it's like an amusement ride. It's like your Disney World.
Yeah. I've always wanted to drive it.
Well, let's do it. I can show you how to do it. Just pay attention to everybody to your right and right in front of you. Don't worry about your left and behind you.
But they drive on the wrong side of the road, right?
No, that's
They're on the
that's
right
the
side.
Brits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're in Paris. How about the famous French war correspondent who traveled across Afghanistan?
Yeah, Jerome Bonny, met him when he was young, and he's a journalist, and he later went on to make a profound friendship with a gentleman named Massoud, who was the head of the Northern Alliance, and really a nationalist, but a person who was dedicated to the West and trying to make Afghanistan a better place. And so he did a big documentary when the Soviets were there, dodged artillery from the. And so he came here to Little Rock to cover Clinton's first.
Really?
Stayed with us and had a whole crew. And I got him into the war room across the street over at Mickey Cantor, and all of them had their, when they ended up doing the war room.
You mean,
in fact, I
you
took
mean
a French.
Hillary Clinton's war room?
Yeah, well, it wasn't Hillary's, Bill's.
It was Bill's in the beginning. That's right.
And all those guys, Carville, and
Over at the governor's mansion?
no, it was in the Gazette building.
Oh,
Caddy
it was?
Court. We were at Channel 4.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, I got him in there, and they got some good footage, and that was the first footage of the war room. And the D.D. Pennebaker was the documentary guy, was the only one supposed to be there. And he had a fit over anyway, I'm telling a dumb story. But anyway.
No, it's a good
that's what
story.
happened.
No.
That's what happened. But they've been here. And so I took them out to Cock of the Walk, this French crew. And I'm sitting there next to the guy. Of course, they love the cornbread flipping. And, so I got them Coronas, and we took the lime, and we turned it upside down. They thought it was cool. They were having fun. Well, it turned to come find out, the guy sitting next to me was a guy named Jean Normandin, who was one of the Beirut hostages that was chained to Joseph Scipio, one of our guys, for a year.
Wow.
Well, the French will pay him. So they paid him $1 million a piece, and they got him out finally. But our guys had to languish there for another few years. But so I said, hell, what was that like? He said, it sucked. It's terrible. Be chained to this guy for a year. I said, well, was there good conversation? He said, not really.
Oh, I bet you know way too much about that guy. If you're chained to a guy for a year, I bet it's just gross.
Hadn't happened to me yet, but it's early.
Okay. Your wife is from Ukraine.
Well, my former wife, which
okay.
it's not a unique category because I have two of those.
Oh.
Yeah, she's from Ukraine.
And did you meet her in Paris?
No, I met her when I was at a birthday party in Gdansk, Poland.
In Poland.
I was with a Polish friend and met her, and she was on vacation.
How would she say about the war? Anything?
Well, she's lost a number of her family. And her mother's still there. And
what city is her mother in?
And it's near Lvov, which is in the west, so it's actually a good place to be. She's near the Polish border. And so other than the deprivation of resources, they're pretty good. But she's lost, I think, a large number of cousins. So,
Boy, she's probably thanking you every day for getting her out of there in time.
well, I don't think it goes that way, but I can tell. I could have told Putin before he went in that he loved to fight. So,
I don't know what that is about to war is human or something. It's just weird, isn't it?
well, it's ongoing from what's happened. You know, we've spent a lot of our time in Treasury in the United States making peace in Europe, and that's from the Marshall Plan to everything else we've done to stabilize it in NATO. And so this is a problem against that. So you never know what's going to happen, but it's going to change a lot.
What do you mean it's a problem against that?
Well, it's a problem against stability because they're going back and trying to recreate the age of Frederick the Great. Putin is, and now he's land grabbing for resources, and it's war, and that's what's, you know, we forget. And when you travel over there a lot, it's important to see that they know what war is, because, you know, there are 50 million people died in World War II. That's 1,000 war memorial stadiums full of people. And they died every which way that you can possibly die.
And in every country.
And 18 million of them were Russians or Soviet, because they fought the worst of the battles. But it took years for people just to get back home after. They were called DPs, displaced persons. So that's part of the story of who they are. And so these new generations have forgotten what that's like.
When did you decide to write the book?
Well, you know, I started thinking about, well, I was ill in December, and I didn't have a great prognosis. It was a heart problem, and all of a sudden they fixed it. They gave me some stents, and it changed everything and got me back on track. But I thought maybe if that was as good as they were going to get me, that was not in a good spot. So I intended to probably retire and take state retirement and just start writing and see how much I could get done.
Thank God.
If I was in trouble, but they fixed me, and it just immediately started turning everything better. I started looking at my life as a story. I encourage other people to do that. Think, what's the story of your life? And then as I started thinking about it, it wasn't normal, or at least what most people have done. And I've just been the luckiest guy. It's like almost like Forrest Gump. I get to be in all these crazy places with all these people, whether it be governors or presidents or, you know, the FBI guys, to just big things, you know, to be around it, not be in it. But I think that's the lesson of all of it. You can't change the world, but you can sure be a part of it. That's what I'm trying to do now.
I'm so glad you're writing a book. This is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with soon-to-be published book author, Mr. Billy Mitch Chandler, Jr. He is a storyteller, world traveler, media aficionado, and jack of all trades. Still to come, more of his varied work and travels. We will get tips on how to win the Arkansas lottery because he worked there. We're going to talk about some of his jobs.
Don't play.
He's the only person that's worked for the Arkansas lottery that says don't play. But he did give me a tip that works, and I'm going to share it with y'all. And last, his longtime media work and relationship with the FBI. We'll be right back.
Yeah, back in 1990, I was invited by my friend Jacques Bonin, who had a beautiful apartment on the Rue de Rivoli, really fascinating, right across the street from the Louvre, and with a magnificent view. And he invited me to come stay 6 months, and I ended up staying 3. But it was right before the Gulf War started, and it got a little bit weird in one of the neighborhoods that I was hanging out in. Some of the Turks and some of the other Arab guys wanted to make sure that they knew who I was. And as it started, yeah, there was you take yourself back to January 91.
1990.
91.
91,
when,
yeah.
You know,
9/11.
Yeah, we're going to kick your ass. Well, this is a while back before that, but they were basically, we're going to kick your ass on January the 15th if you don't leave Kuwait. And they didn't. Iraq. So we went into Iraq. So I came home the day before that started.
Smart.
Just because there was no sense in tempting fate. No. And they'd made it pretty clear I needed to not go into the establishments that I'd been going in the neighborhood. So,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So before the break, we talked about Mitch's his book he's writing, and I love what Tom said about how he's like so knowledgeable.
The perspective on Europe and the things that you've done over there is what I love to hear you talk about. And the way you rattle off the names as if it were, you know, right down the street to
Pine
Conway
Bluff
or to Jacksonville or Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff or Malvern.
I know. It's fantastic. It's just, and you know, when you hear somebody tell stories the way you tell stories, you know you lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
they
it's
did too. They came here. In fact, my buddy Jacques Boudin, he'll say, have you been to Griffithville? Because he knows my family's from Griffithville.
Oh.
Well, you know, it says on the sign there, he liked this. It says on the sign, population 206, Griffithville, on Highway 11.
I know you
But
know
I
that.
asked Dad, I said, how come that never changes? He said, every time we come back, it's still 206. He said, because every time a baby's born, a man has to leave town. Yeah, so.
That's good.
No, it's fun because he'll talk about hazing, you know, because they come over and they play and they love it here.
Hazen, Arkansas?
Yeah, I
Oh, how
mean, you know,
funny.
little podunk towns. And
Yeah.
We are to them as they are to us.
Exactly.
I love the French. That's my favorite place. All right. Seems like your first and longest career was in television. Talk about those days. We talked about it a little bit, and you talked about how you saw Bill Clinton's mother on an airplane with rice in her hair earlier in the before the first break. So you ended up landing an interview with her first interview. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't her first. It was
exclusive.
It was exclusive because it was the day before he announced in October of '91. Came out here. The State House was important to him. He announced both times to run there, and he took election night results there each time. So, in fact, Tony Bennett was there singing for him, and he just died. So, I thought about that. And interestingly enough, Jim Pickock and Bob Steele, they were competing against us, and I was at Channel 11 by then. We covered it like an event. So we would let Tony Bennett sing on air for, 3 or 4 minutes and let Stephen Stills sing and Andrea McCardle sing. And,
Did not everybody else do that?
no, they were running numbers and talking to the Nuremberg trial.
Oh, no.
All the guys
you're
laid
a
out there.
showman.
But I told you I was show breed, but that's the way we did it. Because
You had to capture the environment,
well, I
capture
mean,
the moment.
you got him singing, Tony Bennett singing "The Best Is Yet to Come." Well, what would you rather do? Look at him or John Robert Starr, whoever was in the hot seat, Brummett? God bless you, Brummett.
So, when did you go from being an intern at the radio station and working
TV,
for free to being the producer?
Overnight editor. Well, then I became a year later became a producer, and then a year later I became something else. And then I decided I wanted to do another. I hated working overnight; it was just terrible. So I did that for 2.5 years, and I told Steele I need to go. So I went to Paris for, I don't know, at that time when I told you I ran off. And he told me before I left Paris, I said, I'm coming home. He said, well, there's a job in Doha for CNN for an editor to edit the war stuff coming in. And I thought, well, that's cool. But then I thought, I don't know if I'm going to fit in a chemical suit very good. And I don't think I like that idea. So anyway, I'd been in love, so I went ahead and claimed love over war and came home.
Is that with Luba?
No, it's the first one, Janet. My favorite ex-wife.
Your favorite ex-wife. Luba, I'm sorry. He didn't
No,
mean
she's delightful too. Let me just say that publicly.
Let me just say,
mother
you
of my
and
child.
Luba are a sight for sore eyes when you see y'all coming.
Yeah, it looks like the circus is in town, doesn't it?
So, how tall is Luba?
I don't know. It's sort of Nicole Kidman to Tom Cruise. That's
Yeah.
kind of what, but that's where the similarities ended. Yeah, so, yeah.
She's very tall and thin.
And very beautiful.
And very beautiful, and whenever she takes the trash out in the neighborhood, all the men go and look out the window.
And what a warm soul she has as well.
And then describe yourself to our listeners.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm 6'2". I have a big old belt buckle that says I kill bears.
Are you 6'2"?
No, I'm not 6'2". I'm 5'7". Got a gap between my teeth, 300 pounds. Used to be. And that's why I never got a really good looking wife. I'm teasing. That's what Lou Holtz used to say.
Oh,
No, I've been lucky.
yes.
Napoleon said a woman laughing is a woman conquered.
That is so true. I did not know Napoleon said that.
What are you doing later?
I mean, have you seen that guy Pete, who is not good looking at all, on Saturday Night Live dating Kim Kardashian? I mean, is that not the truth? He's
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
unattractive. She's drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, and he's kicked to the curb now too. So
But at least he got in the gate one
are you
time.
going to tell people that we were neighbors for 15 years? Behind the street neighbors?
Well, I kind of have alluded to
You
that.
alluded to it. Well,
Yes, we
okay.
were. And you know my husband for a long time.
Sure.
So let's see. So then you went you didn't take that job. You left, you went away. Then you came back and you got a job at AEDC, Arkansas Department of Economic
I worked in
Development.
TV for a while longer and became a executive producer at Channel 11 and, ended up doing that for a long time. And then I went to KTV and, I took 6 months off and stayed in Destin to write and shoot pictures after I got divorced the first time.
Oh.
Yeah. Watched.
Writing is cathartic for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, it's for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then you came back and got AEDC, and
AEDC.
I bet you traveled with them. Did they ask you to travel?
Yeah, went to India, went to Japan, and the man who's really had a great impact on my life, there's about 4 or 5 of them other than my dad, is Larry Walther. He's now the secretary at DF&A here, cabinet level for the governor. And he was the one that really propelled me. All my bosses that encouraged me, or at least turned me loose, they were special because then I could do it. I could do what I do, but I scared a lot of them. And so sometimes they put me in a closet for just a little bit. That's okay. It's your career's going to porpoise. Any young people out there, you've got to remake yourself every few years in some fashion. So it's this idea that you can do one thing your whole life. But if you have tenacity and you have audacity and if you're honest, that's the other thing too. You got to stay honest, because if you're not honest, somebody's going to get you before it's over. They're going to get you when you're honest too. You end up in checkmate, especially in politics. There's a lot of politics in politics. And there'll be people shooting at you and you have no idea why. But eventually you find out. But then what's the first rule?
I don't know what.
Screw them back.
Oh.
That's what people do. So that's why there's palace intrigue all over state government. It's because it can be the best of everything and it can be the worst of everything.
Did you say palace intrigue?
Palace intrigue.
Oh, palace intrigue.
Yeah. Well, I speak in cursive. I think it's damn near elegant, but I guess it's not.
It is to me.
So tenacity and honesty are important, but yet you say it's not in politics.
Well, see, you can say anything you want, right? There's all this cancel culture.
Yes.
I'm okay to be canceled now because I'm out of government and I have my own voice now. But before I didn't, when I was working for TV, you don't talk about politics. I was running the polls and, you're sort of, it's like talking to Steve Barnes. You can't get him to talk politics publicly because he has to be the guy, the arbiter.
Right.
And so we took that. I don't think they think that way anymore in TV, but it was a different time.
Yeah. What do you think about TV and broadcasting
Well,
today?
it's just, what did Hunter S. Thompson say?
What?
He said it's a long plastic hallway, a shallow money trench where pimps and whores run free and weak men die like dogs. And there's a negative side to it.
That's
So it's true, but it's also rewarding. And you give people a voice that never had one. I mean, the greatest thing I ever did wasn't winning an Emmy. It was going out to 65th and Odom. They'll know where it is out there by the Cloverdale School. There wasn't a crosswalk to get to the after school big building they built for basketball and everything.
No kidding?
Yeah, so our guy went out there and took pictures and kids were diving across. Richard Armendariz, photographer, he got it. And so we ran it every day. And the mayor came over and we said, we're going to run it every day till you put a crosswalk there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So,
that's good. That's the good part.
That's a small thing that nobody remembers, but I
Save
do.
one child.
Well, I think somebody probably.
You saved probably a lot of children.
It's that kind of thing that you.
But I love the quote. Say the quote for me just one more time.
Oh, Hunter S. Thompson. Well, it's a paraphrase, but close. It's a television is a shallow money trench, plastic money trench where pimps and whores run free and weak men die like dogs. And then there's that negative side to it. So it's a plastic hallway with a shallow money trench. And it's true. And now all the stations are owned by outside interests.
Yeah.
All that money's coming in and leaving.
I believe when you were probably in the media, that you couldn't, there was the division of media. Newspapers a newspaper couldn't own as many newspapers as it can now.
Yes, there were rules on FCC rules for television.
And for newspapers, so that we couldn't get the kind of propaganda we're getting today.
But you're getting now with Sinclair, right?
Yeah, because you
the
can
must-reads.
The what? The must-reads.
They call them must-reads.
Yes.
It's cookie cutter. It's designed to to impact opinion.
And I think Clinton was the one that let that through, that change.
I'm not an expert in it, but at some point the FCC said your license isn't distributed or kept by public good. So community affairs directors for stations went away, and they kept a file of all the things that they did that was special children's programming.
But the thing that I don't like is the thing I don't like about the banks also. Banks used to be able to not go across state lines.
Yeah.
Media used to be able to not go across state lines, so that the whole United States didn't end up with one propaganda voice. And today, it's not that way. All the radio stations are owned by 3 people. Well, really, we've turned into not monopolies, but oligopolies, where there's just 3 or 4 of everything.
Well, I mean, I love local television. I spent 16 years doing it, but I can't watch it anymore. People that are with me, they say, quit talking to the TV, because I'll start giving commands to go. They'll just.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they're on live shots and it's shoddy, and these poor reporters now, they call them 24s.
Because they're on 24.
They're 24. They're 24 years old.
Oh.
They have a contract for 24 months, and they pay them $24,000.
Wow.
And all their parents are subsidizing them.
Is that true?
Yeah, close. I mean, it's close.
Well, the news is on 24.
You have old salts that are there.
Yeah.
And look at Channel 7. I mean, you have some really great broadcasters there.
Yeah.
Chris May and Barry Brandt, and people I worked with all my career, and Melinda Mayo and Bob Clausen. Bob Clausen's been an anchor in this market for longer than anybody.
No, I didn't know that. I did. I guess if I think about it.
That's when you talking about Roy Mitchell and Steve Barnes and all those folks. So there is a thread and legacy that runs through Little Rock Television, but it's not near what it used to be. And logistically, it was much more difficult.
When you said you call them 24s, I was thinking it was because it was on 24 hours a day, and they just stand there just regurgitating stuff to try to make up, stuff to say.
Well, we did that too, but we also, we were compelled to be accurate. And so, I mean, we broke stories.
Yeah.
That won awards. And
are there investigative reporters anymore?
Well, if they do, they have to not run afoul of advertisers. Firestone, remember when Firestone tires were killing people?
Mm-hmm.
That was broken in Houston by a local television station. We had a situation, I won't tell you which station, but it was a big dust up. One of the local dealerships was caught selling a clipped van to an older woman, and it was wrong, and they clipped 1 year to another year, and she was having trouble with it. Well, our news guys went out and ambushed the dealer, and that wasn't very good because he was about a $2 million advertiser. So it got killed quick.
Oh, it did get killed quick. Uh-huh. So 7 on Your Sides.
There was only a few stories that got killed over the years. Bob Steele's a better guest on that than I am because he was news director. I was just the number 2 guy for a long time. But
7 on Your Side, is that what?
7 on Your Side was to investigate stories that people.
And it's still going on. But you're right. There's nobody big. It's all small time window guys, not finishing a window. Nobody big, and don't tell me nobody big's not doing stuff.
Well,
they've
purchased your opinion now. So
they purchased your opinion. Arkansas Lottery. That's the one that everybody's wanting to talk about.
Oh man, lottery! You can win. You got to play to win.
How'd you end up?
Larry Walther called me and said, "I need you to help me over at the lottery. You're going in as sales director, and I need you to do this, this, and this." And okay, was met happily with Bishop Woosley, the director, and we set about trying to learn it. I mean, I couldn't spell lottery when I got there, but I did know something about taking a number of people and moving them in a certain direction. I guess that's all what a newsroom is. So I learned lottery for about 6 months. They brought in a teacher for me, an old school, used to be a director in lottery in California and Oregon, Tony Malika, who became a quick, fast friend and taught me lottery. And 6 months afterwards, I invited the staff to allow me to lead them, and there were 24 people, and we did it. We set a sales record a couple of years later.
Taught me lottery.
Well, you got 2 kinds. You got the scratch and you got the draw games. And the big draw games are the odds of you winning a Powerball, like we had this week, the $1 billion, would be and every ticket has the same, no matter how many you buy. It increases your chances. It doesn't increase your odds. So it's 194 million to 1, roughly. So it's like taking everybody's phone number, putting them in a barrel, and they're sticking yours out there. So somebody's going to win, perhaps. But, even on these big ones, they don't tell you how many numbers are covered generally, but the gaming directors know, and they don't publicize it. But that big first one, 2016, it was the first $1 billion one. There were still 16% of the numbers not bought. So there was a 16% chance it was going to roll again. And we didn't want it to roll. You don't want these huge jackpots. You'd rather have a bunch of them at 300, 400, and you can advertise for that. Mm-hmm. But there were 3 things that made us set sales records. We got the sales part of it right. And Bishop and his gaming director, Mike Smith, got the tickets right. Mike's a genius when it comes to the design of the tickets, and his Dex guy, Bob Coleman, they're worth their weight in gold. And the tickets are inviting and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then the advertising, CGRW did the advertising, and it was extremely effective. And it's all about winners and people who want to win and people who want to hear about other winners. And oh, by the way, it's for a good cause. So they got that formula right. So it all hit. Waymack and those bunch, Waymack and crew did the creative for it, along with Wade McEwen, and it was just magnificent. And I think it's still great advertising.
Great advertising.
Well, yeah, I think that's, you have to be careful how you advertise the lottery to people
gambling.
because, it's gambling, but also too, you don't want to hype them up to, say anything to get them to buy.
Bill Clinton was not in favor of lottery. Arkansas lottery.
It's people think it's a regressive tax. I'm in the stores. I was sales director that actually went to the stores. So, I've been 700 or 800 of the 1900.
You ever buy lottery tickets?
Yeah, occasionally, like every dummy. I tease, but it's a game. You don't play more than you want. Your chances are you're going to break even, but you might win. So you get a $500 ticket. It's these people that spend a lot and expect that that's a strategy for wealth. Then it's trouble. I would suggest people like to play draw games. Pick your 6 numbers, buy them out for 3 months. We can do it here. And then watch your number every week. That's fun. You're playing your number every week. And that's the original numbers game that the mob handled. So really the governments took away the mob's numbers racket.
Right.
So play 3, play 4. If you want to win, play a little bit. Play.
Which one plays better?
Cash 3, cash 4. You're going to win some because it's only 4 numbers or 3 numbers. And it may not pay much, but it might, my numbers came in.
And you get to play again.
Well,
if you win a little bit, you get to play over and over and over, which kind of makes it fun. So
that's right.
So do the numbers game. Do 3 or 4.
Don't plunge. Don't spend way too much. If there's $1 billion, okay, spend 20. But always get the power play or the mega number. What's it called? How quickly you forget?
Multiplier.
Because if you get 5, then that's $1 million. And if you get the multiplier, then it turns into 2, 3, or 4 million or whatever it is.
So like yesterday, I went and bought, in your honor, Arkansas lottery, and I spent $10. So I got.
Was it a scratch ticket or was it
It's a scratch.
draw?
No, it's
a draw.
Oh, it's one you put in the machine and it tells you if you won or not. What's that?
It's a ticket.
It's a ticket.
Okay, well that's a Powerball or Mega Millions, or it could be a natural state jackpot, or there's a new game now.
It was called Arkansas Lottery or something.
Well,
so it wasn't a scratch off. And then there's that one that you put in the machine. Mm-hmm. And then what's another one?
I don't know, but there's a helpline if you need to call it. It's the numbers.
I do.
The number's on there.
It's confusing. And some of these people say, I don't have an education. I can't get a job. And you're like, well, hell, they can figure out lottery and how to bet better than I can. And I own a company for 40 years. And I'm like, I'm in there with the guy from Iran trying to figure out what to buy and how to buy. And he's having to explain it to me. And he can hardly speak English. And when we put my thing in there last time, I stuck my card in there the last time. I said, well, what am I? He goes, you're a loser. I said, you just called me a loser? He goes, I'm sorry. Your ticket's a loser. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, see, so
I've been in line before to see guys buy scratch-off tickets, and they're so tuned in to whether or not it's a winning ticket, they don't bother to scratch it off. They don't care about the drama of whether they messed it up. All they do is scratch the
very bottom of it,
and then see if it won.
Yeah.
If not, throw it aside. Do another.
I know.
What is that?
Fast.
Well,
those are the scratch-off tickets. They're designed to be a fun game.
Oh, but you don't have to scratch the top off?
no.
All you got to do is just scan that barcode.
Scan the barcode at the bottom, and it'll tell you.
Well,
yay
I'm
or
going to
nay.
do that because they make a mess.
They do make a mess.
And when you put them in the car with your grandkids and you let them do it, it's just like a mess.
Well, when they brought medical marijuana, my idea was to make a ticket called Hash Cash, where you could scratch it and then you could smoke the shit that comes off of it. They didn't
That's
like that
a
idea.
$1 million idea right
Well,
there.
that's what I'm thinking, Tom.
That is great.
Yeah.
Okay, you told me this in the alley one day when you first got that job. I said, "What do I do? I like to go in there and do the scratch offs." You say, "Buy the $10 ones
Yeah.
and always buy 3."
Well, only by 3, but the pack players are the ones that have the best chance because
What's a pack player?
A pack player, there's 30 $10 tickets in a pack.
Oh,
And inside that is called a GLEP, a guaranteed low end prize.
there you go.
It's a number that's not secret, but it usually runs about 120, 140.
Yep,
And
that's
these
what
are
I
old
win.
numbers.
Yeah.
Of that in that whole pack. So really, you're not betting 300. You're betting roughly 160. That one of those is going to be a big winner in there. And sometimes, you never know where they are because they're clustered in some and not in others. But there's some guaranteed low end prize in that pack. Now 20s are now $600 a pack because we doubled those up. But the pack players are the ones.
Which one are the pack players? $10s and $20 ones?
Well, the people that go around and buy packs.
Oh, I see.
So what they'll do is they'll come down this and they'll watch on the computer. They'll see where are the prizes. Okay, are the prizes still in this one game? And maybe they're starting to run out of the game. It's old, but yet there's $1 million ticket still in it.
Gotcha.
So then they talk to their lottery reps or whatever because it's not a secret where the games are. They'll say where are these games at, and we tell the retailers know if they have that game or not, and they try to order more of them. And then when they can't order more, they try to get their reps to get them more. And it's a game of some owners and chains are more aggressive with lottery than others.
Oh,
And so
I bet my little guy's not very aggressive. I need to go change my 7-Eleven store.
you just never
my
know where they're going
convenience.
to come. We had a guy that bought a ticket in a TVM, which is the ticket vending machine. They're in Walmarts. And at the time, we only had 115 of them and only, very low amount of the tickets are sold out of them, percentage-wise for the rest of the state. But he bought one ticket in the Conway grocery store, neighborhood market, and he's $20 ticket, and he scratched it, and he said, I don't know. He said, so he tossed it in his truck, and his brother's in there, and so the next morning they get up to go to work, and he said, did I win anything on that? I can't tell. He said, well, you didn't scratch it all off. So he scratched the bottom bar a little bit more, and he said, I don't know. It says MIL. What is that? Is that He said, well, let's go by there. So they were close to downtown. They pulled by the office, and they looked at it. That's $1 million winner.
Oh,
And after tax, it's $680,000, roughly.
I'll
So
take
we
it.
handed him a check for $680,000. And his brother's like, of course, they're in shock when you.
Yeah.
They can't believe, and you'll see them. They'll sit there for a minute because it takes about 30 minutes to do all the paperwork and check everything, make sure it's correct, and you see it hit them every once in a while. God, his brother was like, man, you don't tell anybody. we can't tell anybody.
right.
Okay, you understand that, right? We're not going home. We're not telling anybody.
Nobody.
And he was taking his family to Florida the next day down to.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
He's not
I said,
gonna tell anybody.
you're going to get a check for $680,000. I said, your bank's probably closed by now. He said, no, I got Arvest. They're open at 7. I said, they'd take you $10,000 out. When you get back, you'll still have $670,000. I said, go get him a big old charter boat and go fishing. He said, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
That is the way to
So
spend
you
it.
see these people, and it's magical to them. And the people that run 2 or 3 million, and then of course the big ones sometimes. So yeah, it's good, but there's a lot of people that sink a lot of money into it, and I understand it as a game. But if you think you're going to get rich off of it, just don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Where can you buy the packs? Can you get those from a regular retailer?
Yeah, ask a retailer. Do you have a pack of those?
Okay.
How much does a pack cost?
Well, $300 for all the games except the 20s, then it's $600.
This is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with soon-to-be published book author, Mr. Billy Mitch Chandler Jr. He's a storyteller, as you've heard, world traveler, and media aficionado. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about his longtime media work and relationship with the FBI.
Hear about about this.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy, and I'm speaking today with my friend and neighbor, Mitch Chandler. All right. If you're just tuning into the show, you need to go back. Mitch is a storyteller. He's fun. I mean, they are some good stories. I don't even want to try to recap them because most of the words are in French and I can't repeat and I can't say them. But you just got back from working on a shoot for the FBI or a documentary. What were you working on where were you?
Arizona.
Arizona. What were you? You just got back yesterday, I think.
Yep.
What are you doing?
FBI Agents Association. The documentary is something we're shooting in Paris, and it's going to be a companion to the book. So I'll put all my guys on, do interviews with all my friends, and do some other cathartic things. My mother, when COVID hit, I had a decision to make. Was I going to be locked up in the house behind your house, or was I going to go take care of my mother who was in trouble with cancer? So I went and took care of mother with my dad, his last patient. And I was there all during COVID in the house I grew up in. So the greatest therapy was being there during a really tough time for the world and for myself. I didn't feel good. And she was sick. And so a lot of things can happen when you move back to the place where you grew up. I mean, I'd be laying there in bed and I would hear the kids next door go out to play. And I would think for a second, I can go play. Let's go play. And then you realize you're 60, not 6. So a lot of things like that would happen. But so we'll go in October, me and a new creative muse I have, a friend of mine, a woman named Rochelle Freitag. And we're going to explore what all this thing is that I've done there for all these years and try to put some meaning to it. There was a spot in a hotel. You know, I was on a leash with Dad and Mother. They let me travel, but because they supported most of it, one day I called and I said, hey, I'm going to be flying to Bucharest. This was in 80, 89, 90. And they were having a revolution. And my buddy Jacques' wife was Romanian, so I wanted to go shoot pictures, and maybe I was 29. I thought, well, if I'm going to make a move as a photojournalist, this is the time to do it, and I have a place to do it, and support network in Bucharest. So I said, by the way, I'm flying. He said, no, you're not. I said, why not? He said, you're not going to Bucharest. I said, well, how come? He said, because I said you're not going. He said, there's a revolution going. I said, I know, that's why I'm going. He said, you're not going. It's like, a doctor's kid you're not riding a motorcycle, but this time so what did I have, 29? So I went down and said, my daddy won't let me go to the revolution. I said, no, but I'm going to go buy $200 worth of scotch and he said, fine, okay. Anyway, I act like a punk and a little kid. And, finally, maybe I grew up. And I always thought that was a pivotal moment where I chose family and home and over, screw it, let's go. But then as I thought about it, I realized that's when I should have gone.
No.
That's when I should have stepped out of the gold card and went to go do something.
You didn't have any money.
Well, I know.
You couldn't have gone.
Well, Jack did.
Oh, your friend?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's a good story or not, but it was a pivotal moment in my life. So we're going back to do some of that, and we're going to shoot for 2 weeks back in the apartment where I stayed all that time, and he gave it to us for 2 weeks. So that's a big deal.
A lot of people resent going home and taking care of their parents when they're sick.
What's the best thing that ever happened?
I think that's
tough.
Especially men, I would think would.
Well,
they're not naturally nurturing.
Well, it's not.
You are a doctor.
I photographed some of it as poignant as I could for later generations to see how hard she fought. She was a multiple myeloma patient at UAMS. They got her 10 extra years.
Oh.
So she fought it to the end.
And she died during COVID.
Just the end of it. So it's about a year and a half ago.
Your father's still alive, though, right?
Yep. He's doing great. He still studies, and he has joy in his life, and he's 88 years old,
What's he
87.
study?
Just everything. He's just always been
a learner.
A learner, yeah. He's sad, but he's okay.
He misses her.
Yeah.
So talk about the FBI.
FBI. So I made friends with a guy named Paul Nathanson out of a Bracewell firm, and I'd gone to India for Larry Walther and met the Wellspun people and helped with that project. Basically, just
what's the Wellspun people?
Wellspun people out here at the port making pipe. Rajesh Chakani
Wellspun.
and that bunch.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And ended up at CGRW, and I did their grand opening. And so one of the guys, the steel guys, came down from Bracewell firm and he made friends with him. And a few years later, I was in D.C. at the State Department doing something else. And I said, let's go eat lunch. And he said, hey, I need to get you a project. And I said, yeah, I do. And, yeah, you do. Called a couple of weeks later, said, how about the FBI Agents Association? It's not the FBI, it's their association of 14,000 roughly special agents. And it's advocacy for the agents. They have two charities. One's a Memorial College Fund that pays for the college of agents that perish, whether it's in a bank robbery or mowing their lawn. Mm-hmm. It's just one of the benefits to them. They work long, hard hours, and it's dangerous. And so they know now their kids, 75% of their college, no matter where they get into, can do it. It can go to college. And then there's an assistance fund for agents that have tragedy in their life, or a sick child, or a house burns down, or a flood, people that need extra help. And so we raised funds for that. And that's primarily what I do. So I do their video work. I tell their stories of their agents that have trouble, and every one of them are tear jerkers, and it's thoughtful. And, everywhere from you can go to FBIAA on YouTube and just search that, and a number of stories will come up, whether it's about Lenny Hatton, the only agent that died on 9/11, when he went to the towers, not away. And he was a great man, and he died saving people. He went up in the tower with the firemen. He was a volunteer fireman all his life, and his dad was just across the river. And so it's just, and they give me time to tell them. They're 15-minute stories sometimes they're 8, and it just propels people to give. And in fact, if anybody wants to support that, just go to fbiaa.org, and it's pretty simple to donate. But that money goes to help agents that have tragedy, whether themselves or their children. So
The FBI's been getting a bad rap lately.
well,
Any scuttlebutt about that?
Well, no, I mean it's I don't.
You're an
I
advocacy.
don't focus on that. I've been in and around the directors. I've gotten to interview Director Ray and Judge Webster, who's now 100 years old, who's still part of the thing, and Director Comey. So
You have?
Yeah, I've been around all of them for it's 10 years.
You like Comey?
Well, I mean, I like him. Yeah, the agents liked him. He was popular inside the agency, as is Director Ray. But I don't handle any of the political side of it. They don't ask me, and I don't offer it. So there may be things that happen that I hear, but it's ancillary, and it's not important to what I do. Mm-hmm. I tell the stories, and I know them on a personal basis. And these are all active duty agents that are part of the trustee program, and in the agency. That's where we were at their biannual convention in Scottsdale, where they ratify their bylaws and elect a new president. And Director Ray came down and addressed them.
That's nice.
And so it's been a great partnership, and during some tough years for me physically and in work, because like I said, porpoise, that's been the one sort of North Star in my career, and it's just great to play at that level. They let me I produce their dinner, so we've gone from raising $100,000 the first year to $1.1 million this last year. It's a $10,000 a table fundraiser in Washington. Now we're up to 70 tables, I guess.
And tell who the gift was that gave away. A local celebrity got to go up there and give away. Yeah.
Well, it was Pat Matthews, your old friend, my old friend.
Artist Pat Matthews.
Family. I'm looking at some of his work here on your walls.
Oh, no.
He's fabulous.
Well,
it was kind of a misfire.
Why?
He painted this beautiful American flag. He's famous for flags.
Yes.
As you are, I guess.
That's true.
That's right. Do you have one of his flags?
Yes, I do.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I think it's in
Grady's
Grady's
you didn't
office.
have to buy it. But anyway, he painted one. He's got the, we've lost almost 20 and probably end up more agents from all the terrible things that they waded through and mucked through in Pennsylvania and the World Trade Center and Pentagon. In fact, my friends, some of them were actually in the muck too. They haven't gotten sick. But
You mean from the lung disease that came from
just
it?
all kinds of
All
stuff.
kinds of stuff.
Bad cancers and all the benzines, and they were human remains, and it's a mess. You had to pick the whole plane out of the
Pentagon?
Pentagon, yeah. So what was the question?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
You lost the painting. He was going up there.
Yeah,
You're giving it away. He's going to paint it and
auction it away.
Auction it
I mean,
away.
we had great auction items, and big ones. And so I said, Pat, why don't you come up and give away? and he personalized it for the association.
Give away your
and
flag.
it's a G-Man dinner. It's called G-Man. And a little guy standing there with a 45 Thompson in his hand. It looks like old G-Man. Anyway, that's the logo. But he painted that on there, and we were going to auction it, and UPS couldn't find it, and we were looking all over town.
He shipped it up.
He shipped it up, and we had the FBI on it, man. I'll tell you what.
Well, sure you did.
We're trying to get a search warrant.
If the FBI can't find it,
I don't know. It ended up in Baltimore or someplace, and so they shipped it back. We got it. I think they told me over the weekend, let's go ahead and ship it now for November.
But it missed your event.
Yeah, it did. And
so did you get to bid on it?
No, we didn't do it. We said, well, let's just wait.
Oh.
I'm telling you. If anything, the FBI has a long memory.
I have enjoyed interviewing you so much.
Well,
so
thank you.
I have you a gift.
What is it?
Is there anything you want to say before that I didn't talk about, or did we get it all?
I don't know. Am I able to get canceled?
No.
I want to.
This is your desk set. It's an Arkansas flag, a U.S. flag. And what's this one?
That's Colorado.
That's for the one semester you spent in Colorado. Two semesters.
We need to cut it in half because that way, it's indicative of my
your career
ending. But you gave the same one to Tommy Foltz. I listened to Tommy Foltz.
He didn't have Colorado, did he?
Yeah, he got Colorado.
Oh, you know what I should have done with yours, though? I should have given you a French flag.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are shooting this in my office at Arkansas Flag and Banner. We're going to go down and switch out Colorado for France because it's more important to you.
Well, I'm validated and I'm happy.
Good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Is it over?
No, it almost is. In closing, to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
You've been listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy. For links to resources you heard discussed on today's show, just go to flagandbanner.com, select radio, and choose today's guest. And browse through the hundreds of available past programs, too. They make for great weekend listening. If you'd like to sponsor this show or any show, just email us. Send us your information to Gray, Gray, at flagandbanner.com. All interviews are recorded and posted the following week. Stay informed of exciting upcoming guests by subscribing to our YouTube channel or podcasts wherever you like to listen. Kerry's goal is simple: to help you live the American dream.
If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture in the center of the screen. For more of Kerry's interviews, click either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.